Yes, it's still Poet the Poet. I'm still Robert Dunn, and we're still in the International Books and Cafe, and we appreciate Gerard Hamon for letting us come in here and do whatever it is that we do. And now we're going to let Susan Scutti do whatever it is that she does, which is remarkable poetry. And first, a little background information. She was born and raised in New Jersey, but she traveled that far distance across the Hudson to come to New York, where the action is, as we say. She writes short stories as well as poetry, and is working on a novel. This is done all at the same time, folks. It's what they call a triple threat in sports circles. She's been published in a couple of places, like The Unbearables. Somehow I just can't picture you as unbearable.
Well, the group got the name from Milan Kundera's novel, The Unbearable Lightness of Being, and over time it just shortened to The Unbearables.
Okay. Allowed voices from the Nuyorican Poets Cafe and other fun things. She's been on a compact disc. I gather that CD was not certificate of deposit in this case. Family Affairs. And reads for the Soho Arts Festival and all kinds of places. Susan, welcome to Poet the Poet. Let's leap right in and do a poem. That's what we're here for.
Okay. This is called Education. During the summers when I was in college, Christmas and spring breaks too, I waitressed in a diner on 35. I worked the graveyard shift, serving the after-movie crowd, the bar rush, and breakfast to those who woke for work before dawn. I ate anything I wanted as much as I could. The Greeks were good to me. My father was a mason. He came home from work filthy with flecks of dirt and dust and concrete, and he never entered my mother's clean house until he'd washed and changed himself first, down in the damp and cool below the earth in the cellar, the foundation of our house. Once when I was alone there running water to wash my hair for work, my father came home and I was in his way. I didn't look at his face. I didn't smell his exhaustion, hunger, pain. I was unaware, bent over the water, my hair spilling like serpents into the sink. He yelled, "Why don't you respect me?" I straightened myself, looked away from his eyes, down at his filthy hands and pants. I looked away from his eyes, staring into my own, into my heart that learned at college that doctors and lawyers are better than bricklayers, my heart that let my rich school friends buy me dinner. My heart had turned cheap. I stood before him motionless and mute, cold water dropping from my hair like stones. And I waited for him to hit me, watched him raise his hand, then twist it under my eyes so I could see his yellow calluses, his cracked and blackened nails, his bruised and bloody knuckles, the stigma of his work. "Why don't you respect me?" he said. "My hands bleed to feed my children."
It's a tough set of circumstances. Now, when we discussed sidelines with Betty, and you ordered the 6 reams of her handmade number 20 Bond and the quart of half and half, do you have any sidelines that we could get Betty to order a few items from?
I'm not sure. I do some financial writing. Maybe I have a stock tip or two.
Well, tell me after the show. We'll see if it's any good. In the meantime, how about a poetry tip?
Okay. For some reason, I have a yen to do my tough stuff tonight.
All right. You can get tough.
The title of this, I willingly credit Wallace Stevens with, but it is Wallace Stevens. Just the title. It's in his poem Sunday, and it's just a line in one of his longer pieces that has always struck me. So, death is the mother of beauty. Sunlight shot through a single crack in the closed Venetian blinds, making a white stripe across the screen pulled down over the blackboard. The movie began by panning the crowded Nagasaki hospital while a condemning British accent narrated the tragedy of countless lost lives and corrupted births. Bored by the ceasefire in our own 7th grade spitball war, we slouched at our desks until the part in the movie that showed an explosion of the atomic bomb. In front of me, John leaned forward. Behind me, Ellen sighed. All of us were awed by the beauty of a bomb, majesty of a mushroom. Our minds stood at attention to watch the nuclear violence of a cloud. It was years later. I waited years to feel that horror and ecstasy again. It was only after you pressed yourself inside me, pulsed your raw life within me, after your warm semen seeped up inside my womb. Then I sensed the soundless implosion of my chemical control, my contraception, my destruction of your sperm, your love, your life. Then, it was then you lifted yourself, stared into my hazel Hiroshima eyes, and collapsed in my American arms.
Wallace Stevens, eh? No matter.
He said the next great American poet would be a poet of the weather.
It does look like rain, now that I think about it.
Well, that is the I guess he was speaking of colloquial poets. I mean, that's the only thing we exchange among everybody, right?
You know what Mark Twain said, everybody talks about the weather, but nobody does anything about it. And now we know what you do in your spare time, like Wallace Stevens, you sell insurance. So, Betty, what kind of a policy can we get for you? Straight life, term, endowment, or what? Susan will take care of all your insurance needs.
Good.
But we have poetry needs to take care of, too, so.
Okay. I'll do something a little lighter. This is called Nocturne. Only in the greatest need of peace can a soul resist those whose motives lack beauty. Our island is punished by winter. Beneath the snowfall we linger, our tongues buried in silence. There's a kind of suffering that requires a stage, a play, a monotonous soliloquy about extravagant vices. Finally, in Act 5, Scene 1, truth enters, disguised as manipulation. In the absence of contentment, this world cannot continue, and the end will not be some great crash or some great class, but a mute isolation of spirit. To heal ourselves, we will lick another woundless. Slumber in darkness until a dream opens your eyes. Your bed was covered with shame once, but now it is quilted with a passion for empathy.
A little more background, if we could. What started you writing?
In 5th grade,
Yeah. Okay.
I wrote a short story called What's Up? And it was all about a baby lion that travels across the jungle, asking each group of people, what was up in their life. Finally, he reaches, I guess, the east, and the sun's coming up, and that's when he recognizes universal truth.
Or a talent scout from Disney, I suppose.
And I don't know. My teacher liked it, and I just decided what a great way to make a living, Not that I've accomplished it yet, but.
In the 5th grade, I was still writing on the blackboard, and the teacher didn't like that at all.
Oh.
No,
I will not
clean.
speak while Mrs. Andrews talks.
Where did she get in? Anyway, how about another poem?
Okay, this is... The most impressive buildings in Europe are cathedrals, and in America, banks. My longest title ever. A coincidence of manners surrounds the fisted work, glum offices, and current rate of exchange. In the latitude and longitude of exploitation, feeble frames with lingering names, ache and incomplete carnality, greet their mornings with hostility. Despair is the empty emotion, a cramped bed, some drizzling sunlight, the speaking clock, your yawning mind. Too often, liberty looks like cowardice. Freedom comes unintentionally when the mind rises to meet the chosen occupation necessary for survival. There is no sudden awakening. There is no greatness in death when a martyr longs for his cross.
Now, Susan, you do a lot of features and whatnot. And I was wondering, how do you prepare yourself for your personal appearances?
I usually
Yeah.
spend my time chatting with friends first, and that's how I prepare. I mean, I try not to think about what I'm going to do so that it's as spontaneous as possible. Like, I usually don't know what I'm going to read in advance. I end up flipping a lot through
Yeah.
pages on,
Well, we all do that. It's a tradition.
Oops, nearly
some-
knocked yours over.
No, I don't think so.
But I think I just try to, like, be with the people who I like and who care about me. And
And how do you do it, Betty?
I don't do anything, and then just before it's time to go, I experience sort of a white panic and grab things, and then once I get there, I say, oh my God, why did I pick those things to read? And don't want to do it, and then just open the things up and do it. That's sort of how I prepare.
But they go over, don't they?
Sometimes, and sometimes they don't. How do you prepare?
What?
How do you prepare?
I just close my eyes and charge. And there we are. Like now, as a matter of fact, it gives me a chance to slip something of mine on.
yay.
Ah, you poor
But you have to
innocents.
do it with your eyes closed.
Well,
And
I
charge
peek.
it.
I peek just a little when I do that. Here's something about my sideline on sharpening pencils. Fewer carpentry jobs are less demanding than sharpening pencils. Even sanding toothpicks down to optimal trim requires sounder judgment and steadier limbs. But sharpening pencils is my dream assignment. My sharpener blades are in perfect alignment. I insert each utensil, and upon my vow, a few quick cranks, and I take my bow. Yet there's one little detail that strictly hard knocks. The sharpener shavings collect in my socks. And I have just as much trouble with my shoes as you do, as a matter of fact. And I'm going to get back to Susan because
Oops.
I kind of charged right into there. Do you have a little one?
A little one? I have a really little one, but I'm afraid to read it.
A little gem for the audience.
That just means I'll flip even more through my poems.
Well, we've
All
been
right.
flipping for the poetry, so.
Well, that just has certain connotations. I don't know if I want to get into.
Nothing like a connotation.
All right. I can only describe the moment. I don't know the word for the emotion. Looking up into his eyes, I echoed his ambitions. I lingered in abstraction. I shuddered with mortality. I could give him everything, the vision of my sleep, my angry work, even my womb, to bear his eternity. Screaming, bloody, blind, progeny of trust and touch, a generation of truth.
Aye, aye, aye. Thank you, Susan Scutti, for coming on Poet to Poet, and thank you, Betty Oliver. And just a quick peek at our magazine, Medicinal Purposes. We're very proud of it, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you again with another exciting edition. So stick with us, and we'll stick with you. Bye.